The people who win are the people who are like, this does not actually need to do anything for me. Like, there is an element of altruism involved with it. And for me, those founders, those businesses, head and shoulders above the rest in terms of performance, and they have the most lucrative opportunities. Always.
This is what keeps people in the game. To be honest, most of the time, it's like it could help them, but they have to start with that strategy. They have to start with the end in mind. Is once a month enough?
You are a CEO who has insight that we will never get. And I think although you could give us lots of tips and tricks and mindset and strategy and like all these things, like, dude, tell me some of the fattest L's you've taken, because I would love to learn like how that even happened. Were you blindsided? What you could have done now that you've reflected on it to prevent it? What you have done since then to prevent it? Like, your brand voice, in my opinion, should always lead with uncommon honesty.
I'm Josh Lewis, and this is Grow Your Podcast, produced by the Cincinnati Podcast Studio. Hey, before we get started, may I ask a favor, and would you hit that subscribe button? It's super easy in this feed-driven algorithmic world to not hit that because videos like this might just show up for you. But by hitting that subscribe button, it tells us that we're actually doing it right, that we're actually creating content and bringing on guests and having conversations that are valuable to you. So if you would do that, we would so appreciate it, and we will do our best to keep bringing valuable content. Thank you. All right, in this episode, I'm going to be interviewing Rich Cardona. He is a former Marine pilot. He's a leadership podcaster, strategist, and podcast studio owner. Rich has been able to interview people like Gary Vaynerchuk, and as a producer, he produces the Futur podcast with Chris Do. Rich has had about 7 years of podcasting experience, and I am so excited for you to hear the content that we're digging into. So let's get into the episode. All right, so Rich, right out of the gate, why should businesses have a video podcast?
Maybe they shouldn't.
Oh, I am so glad you said that. All right, go for it. What do you mean by that?
What do you imagine if you're a business that your podcast is going to look and feel like?
Yeah.
I think this is the biggest mistake businesses make, is they do it because someone thinks it's a good idea and it's not actually anyone's idea. If, in my experience, and I know you've dealt with this as well, is if this is something that someone in a leadership position, C-suite or CEO, especially founder, is adamant about and they have a vision for it, great. If it's mid-level marketer, we need a podcast, then forget it, because no podcasts work by proxy ever. Businesses will fall out of love at the expense of content creation because, of course, they're going to be wanting ROI. And that's super fair to expect and want as a business. And at the same time, if you're just going to kind of thrust yourself into something and not give it its actual like due diligence and like a true legitimate shot at it, then it's over before you start. I like to say, and I know you know this for a fact, is that like everything's going against you in the podcast world for the most part. Like, it's freaking hard. But like the people who win, is something I also know, the people who win are the people who are like, this does not actually need to do anything for me. Like, there is an element of altruism involved with it. And for me, those founders, those businesses, head and shoulders above the rest in terms of performance, and they have the most lucrative opportunities. Always, like without fail. So your business probably does not need a podcast if it's something that someone just thinks it's a good idea. If this is part of like your ethos, which is to educate people in business or sales or marketing or whatever your niche is, or thought leadership, if like you cannot keep it in and you want to make content and you are creating content and you want another lever to pull, freaking go all in and you will see returns at some point. You just need to have some patience.
If somebody is going to have a podcast, they need the patience. They need to be in it for the long haul. ROI is not a quick I spend this much money and in a month I will get this much back in terms of views or whatever. That's not the way this works. But I'm curious, for those who maybe you're piquing their interest, maybe they have been thinking, okay, I am thinking a little bit more longer term. I am thinking a little bit more from a brand standpoint. Is podcasting an optional thing for people who have that mindset?
I would say it's no longer an option if you have the capabilities, if you have the consistency and staying power to do it, if you have expectation management, and you have a very clear message to get out. Like, it should not be an option. And here's the reasons why. Number one, you and I, like, I'm going to show up way better on this podcast right now as a guest than I would on my own. Okay. So like, that's one thing. And the reason I say that is because if you become a podcaster or your brand begins to have a podcast, then you will quickly see that, you know, the podcast community is really tight. And like, people like game recognize game, like, for sure. And then you will start to appear on other podcasts. And that is I think still a critical way to, number one, be discovered, and a way to get in front of already highly engaged audiences. So like, dude, there's no better audience to be on than in front of someone else's who listens to podcasts, like, period. Like, that's huge. So that's number one in terms of not having an option. Number two is, it's like, the content output alone, which I used to really, really harp on this, but like, it's not necessarily the needle mover. But like, look, if you have time constraints, which a lot of businesses do, which a lot of founders do, like, why don't we just do the freaking triple threat here? You get audio, you get video, you could get the transcription, you could turn it into a newsletter, you know, all the things. Like, the content output is undeniable. It's absolutely undeniable. Number three, it's not optional, because every single time you are in front of a camera or a microphone, like, you are refining and enhancing your message. Like, that's why everyone's first 25 episodes suck shit. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, dude, just like, eat it, eat the sandwich. Like, it gets better. So, like, you will always be refining and just getting closer and closer to like who you actually are. Way more so than short form content. Like, you cannot convince me otherwise. When I make short form content, which I do not enjoy doing, it has to be extremely purposeful. It has to have the hook. It has to have the takeaway. It has to have the call to action and all this other stuff. In a long form content, I'm not forcing myself to squeeze all that in, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I do believe like learning the art of conciseness and messaging is really important, but the long form avenue or the long form medium allows you to just like really just dig in a little bit more, because that one person who wants you to expand on it, if they listen and if they hear you and then they hit the subscribe or follow button, like, so they could listen to you regularly, like, that person is so valuable if you're a business. Like, so deeply valuable than the view that someone scrolled by in the middle of their freaking hour of doom scrolling per day. Do you know what I'm saying? Right. So like, it's not an option. And then lastly, I mean, like, you know, we talked a little bit about thought leadership when we were about to start, but yeah, man, like, it's fine if there's a lot of other people on Instagram talking about podcasting or whatever your niche may be, but sometimes people need to hear it from Josh. Sometimes people need to hear it from me or whatever. So it's like, cool, like, allow the podcast to help be a conduit for that, because if you go through all the things I just said, especially the refining your message, there's gonna be a great soundbite or something that you can use to elicit a response. Like, there's going to be some short form piece of content within the long form piece of content that is going to attract someone. All right. And I mean, like, I never ever have any illusions that someone's going to go directly off Instagram after seeing one of your or my clips and be like, I'm going to watch long form for the rest of the day, or I'm going to go listen to a pod. Like, I'm not getting off a 70-mile-an-hour highway for a backcountry road. Like, that's just not what it is. But after enough reps, maybe so. So it's like, like, you still need to put the short form out, and you will probably get good short form with your refined message after all the reps you've put in from the long form that you've made. So I think, like, if you have the resources and you have the conviction and you have the patience, you don't have a choice at this point.
I think something I've been learning as I've kind of gotten back into starting my own podcast and that kind of thing is it has been a muscle that has kind of gone away, where I can expound on things for sure, but to have the kind of concise statement, the principle, having that and then expounding on it, that actually plays really well if you're trying to repurpose content. And that's something that like I've been able to
Totally.
start to relearn and start to get a little bit better at. And it's definitely been a learning curve, and it takes time, right? This is going to be like the 16th, I think, episode. And so I'm still under that 25 mark that you mentioned, right? But it does take time.
Yeah.
But I have been learning, and I've been evaluating and trying to critique myself and trying to get better and better. And so, I think that's huge. And
can I add one thing, dude, really quickly?
Yes, please.
The other thing that's the reason it's not an option is because like whatever, if we're talking businesses specifically, like, dude, it's all market research. Like if you're having guests on, like give me a break. Right. It's all market research. Like they're going to give you your content. They're going to give you your pain points. They're going to give you what leads them to success. And you are storing that like a ChatGPT agent, right? Or project. And you're just like, cool. Like that literally helps you, but you're at least learning the entire time. And it's not just learning like the tactical things either. You're also learning how to be a listener, how to have a conversation appropriately, how to interrupt less. Like I just did it to you, but it's like, oh, I need to squeeze this in. But those things matter. It matters a lot.
Video needs to do something for your business. And here at the Cincinnati Podcast Studio, we create video content that helps people know, like, and trust you because it's you on camera. We love talking head video content, whether it's podcast format, webinars, or other social media content. We want to feature the people behind the brands because we believe that when people see your face and hear what you think, that will attract the right kind of customer. If you're a CEO, a thought leader, a marketer here in the greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area, I'd love to talk with you. Just book a discovery call today at cincinnatipodcaststudio.com/discovery or click the link in the description. It's really interesting. I talk with other studio owners like yourself, people who've been in podcasting for a while, and we always start to get a little bit like excited or worked up when we think about the value of video podcasting. And it sort of blows our minds a little bit that more people don't do it.
Yeah.
What have you seen off the top of your head? Like, what are some of the things that stop people from seeing this value or from starting a video podcast? What's keeping them back from this? Because like we're getting so excited about this, and we're so pumped about this that we have studios.
Yeah.
But why aren't more people tapping in?
Yeah, damn. This is a good question because I'm training for a half marathon right now. Now I've ran a couple marathons in the past and all this stuff, but like here's how I kind of look at it in an analogous way. Video podcasting sounds sexy, like the result, the vacation, the destination, like it all sounds good. Like a marathon and imagining having a medal put around your neck and just like the cool finish line picture and all this other stuff and just like telling people that you ran a marathon because, that's what people who run do. It's not nearly the same feeling when you get your 12-week or 6 months training plan look in front of you and you see 12-mile run and a 20-mile run and speed work and hills and sprints and like just stupid shit. So that's the same thing. I think like once push comes to shove, and when people actually do one of three things. One is like when they buy the gear, that's probably like even if you suggest really simple stuff, there's just an element of overwhelm, like period. Like I get overwhelmed every day and I'm in here every day, like, just making sure the cables are right or this is good or the lighting's good. Like, dude, it's just, I understand. So that's one. Yeah. Second is, and I know you know this, like people always dismiss all the knowledge that they have because they feel when it comes to episode ideation or topics or whatever that everyone's doing it or whatever. But like more importantly, they're like, they have this kind of inclination to just do everything in the first 3 episodes. And then they think to themselves, I have nothing to talk about. Like, what would I possibly talk about over a year? So that's number 2. Mm-hmm. And then 3 is if you don't have like a team in place, and I'm not just talking about production. Like that's enough to overwhelm anybody to be like, wait a second, I got to do what? And I got to hire someone to do what, but who's going to do this? And, you know, and then if you give someone, a generalist, the job of editing audio, editing a video somehow and teaching themselves, and it's a collateral duty, like you're just not going to get your best foot forward. But more importantly, on the team side, like who's actually giving you a strategy, which is literally, I would kiss all production away tomorrow if I could attract more people with strategy, but no one gives a shit about strategy at the outset. Like, it's just not it, man. Like I'm sorry. Like people just want to hear, they want to hear buzzwords. They want to hear YouTube. They want to hear downloads. They want to hear ROI. They want to hear sponsorships. No one is interested in having an hour or 2-hour conversation with me about strategy, which is, I believe, the linchpin to it all. So those are some of the reasons, man. Like, so the tech, the ideation, or the minimization of your knowledge and your ability to like kind of just like get all these things that you can make content about. And then lastly is like all the kind of team or pieces needed. And I'm all about DIY, don't get me wrong, but I talk to plenty of people who they quit because they realize it. And those are the people who, you know, if anyone who's watching this or listening for the first time, pod fade is still obviously very real. That's, you know, quitting between your 7th and 8th episode. And a lot of people quit a lot sooner than that. And it's because when all those things converge, it's just too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
Like, the juice is not worth the squeeze. And then you got guys like us being like, well, you got to be patient. So you want me to do all of this for a year and expect nothing? Yeah. I'm out.
Absolutely.
Right. Peace.
Yes. That does not sound appealing. Yeah.
No. I love to talk people out of podcasting.
Well, and I think we do a similar thing. One, we try to say, here's why you should do it. But then, yes, I think it's very important to actually count the cost. And are you the kind of person, because it is a literal waste of your time and anybody else who's associated with it. I mean, if you work at a studio, it's like, great, you're paying us, but you are throwing away your money if you aren't going to view this long term.
Yes.
And so I love that. Going to the strategy piece, and this is a lot of what I was kind of excited to talk with you about, because it feels like that is definitely a passion of yours. Yeah. And it's actually something we've started to ask some preliminary questions in our sales process, just to figure out, what kind of a podcast are you looking at? What kind of content? Like, why are you even wanting to do this?
Yes.
And just trying to begin with the end in mind.
Yes.
So can you tell me, like, why is strategy so important? Let's just start there.
A podcast strategy is important because that is what you're going to fall back on through all the trials and tribulations of a podcasting journey. Like, as long as you could recognize and like, the more real that you show up to, you know, put into your podcast strategy, if you're a podcaster or if you're hire a team or anything like that, like the more honest you are, the easier it'll be to determine if you should do this or not. But let's just say you do it and you are like truly in your heart committed. You know, emotions wear off, right? So like the emotional high of like, I'm starting a podcast, everybody, and I got a good team and all that, like that stuff wears off very, very quickly. And the weeks start to pile up when you're like, I didn't have time today, you know, or whatever. Like I'll try and squeeze something out. Like that's super normal. But what the strategy does is tells you very point blank, like, the reason this is important to me is because this. The reason it's important for an audience is this. The way I'm going to track it is this. Even though I have 5 different goals, I am focusing and isolating this one goal to be my first thing. Like that is important in terms of the strategy. The way I'm going to launch this is also going to be a way for me to reestablish my network for people I haven't talked to forever. And that might be people who follow me I'm connected with on LinkedIn. That might be my email list. That might be people in my phone who I used to serve in the military with, or when I worked at Amazon or whatever. So like the strategy really kind of opens up everything outside of the button pushing and the editing, right? Like, just if you put all that aside, you're like, okay. And then the key is, what is your business goal? Is it to appear on more stages as a public speaker? Is it to sell more books? Is it to rank as a top podcast? Is it to appear on more podcasts? Is it to attract talent? If you are a business and you have a fire podcast, how amazing would that be if you didn't have to use Indeed because Josh was listening and was like, I would work there tomorrow. Right. Whatever the goal is, you have to be super insanely ridiculously crystal clear on that. But then the strategy goes even further than that, especially if you have any expectation of monetization, which 9 times out of 10, a lot of people that we work with say they're not thinking about it. ROI is not important to me. I just need to whatever, until a few months later. ROI is important, because all of a sudden, if the needle's not moving with an unsaid expectation, which happens all the time, then obviously it becomes, instead of an investment, it becomes an expense. But okay, so let's look at the monetization or ROI aspect of it. If that happens to be one of your goals, let's work backwards. You think that your $97 course is valuable. Cool. I don't deny that. But if you're going to be investing this much time and effort in either you doing it yourself or assigning your EA to do it, who's going to be drowning in all kinds of other work anyway, or if you're paying people like you or me thousands of dollars a month to do it, how many of those $97 courses or $297 courses do you need to make in order for this to even make sense? So it's like, cool, that Josh, I think for people like us, puts it back on them and then instead of us. Meaning, like, let's see if your product is legit. How often do you close on it? How many leads are you getting a month now? Okay, what's the upsell from that? What's the LTV? If they're in your membership program, how long do they stay? Like, those are all things that are beyond our control, but somehow in a weird way, get kind of put in our lap. And I always make it extremely clear, like, we're not responsible for conversion, because I don't know all the things you got going behind the scenes. I don't know your workflow. I don't know your AI setup. I don't know your automations. I don't know who's on the calls to close. Like, someone might get to the finish line 9 times out of 10 with a certain product or whatever, but no one knows that the closer is just a totally off-putting person and they punt every sale at the end. I don't know any of those things. So like, that's why a strategy is important, so we can actually work together to make better business decisions. Like, the whole point of the podcast is not so you have just like this cool platform and you could publish some stuff on social media or on YouTube and be discovered. Like, if you have a business in mind and the podcast is a business podcast with business goals, then we need to talk business. Let's not talk about editing. Let's not talk about lower thirds. Let's not talk about brand colors, like all that stuff. I'm not saying it's not relevant, but it's not nearly as relevant as us working backwards to make sure this is actually a smart decision for you and for us. Period.
Yes.
And dude, like, we call it the notebook conversation because, that scene in the Notebook, it's like, what do you want? Like, what do you want? Like, just tell me, what do you want? So we have to re-engage with clients when we can feel like something is off. We, and I know as a business owner, this, you're like, is this going to be a bad call? Like, are we about to get like our ass handed to us? Like, what is happening? Right. So we now have to make it a point where we have that notebook call, meaning our first goal for the first 6 months was to make sure you publish every single week. We're not thinking about who cares about downloads, who cares about let's just step one, right? But anyway, so like there's a lot of ways to like work our way up to that, but let's at least just like work backwards from like the reverse engineer the business goal and be like, okay, in order for X to happen, then this needs to happen first. And just do it in order, trust the experts or trust a strategist and go from there. But without any of that, if you're not having conversations at that fundamental level, then people are going to look at what you and I do as completely commoditized, which it will be. AI will be able to edit videos. AI will be able to edit audio and whatever. And I'm not in that game. You know why? Because I hate production anyway. I'm more about helping people become a better host, helping people have better knowledge to convey, helping people be, have that just good interview skill in person and all that other stuff. That stuff's not quantifiable. AI is not going to replace you. It's not going to replace me in that regard. But there's a business goal attached to it. Okay, so it's like, cool. Like, do you want to work with a person, or do you want to focus, on strategy, or do you want to focus on, all these little moving parts and button pushing that actually means nothing in the long run? That was a rant.
Yeah. No. Dude, that was fire. I love it because this is what keeps people in the game. This is what keeps people from wasting time. And I think we've really value people's time a lot. And so for us, the reason why you're ranting and the reason why I'm profusely agreeing is because we don't want people to waste their time and money if this is not going to help them. To be honest, most of the time it's like it could help them, but they have to start with that strategy. Yeah. They have to start with the end in mind. And if they don't, they will just be wasting, and that's not helpful.
Totally.
So people come into the studio, right? And they're trying to figure out, okay, how frequently should they record and different things. And a lot of times they see price tag first. So they're not coming in with strategy as much as we're trying to kind of have those conversations in the sales process. But like they see the price tag and they're like, oh, well, I could do once a month. Is once a month enough?
So I hate when people just look at price and make their decision based off that. And you know what? Like, I do it all the time as a consumer with stuff. Like, dude, totally. I never go to the mall, and I had to go to the mall for something stupid the other day. And I was like, I went into Pacific Sunwear, PacSun, and I'm like, I haven't been in here in a while. I saw this really cool jacket. The first thing I do is reach for the price tag, dude. I get it. I promise 100%. I get it.
Yep.
And at the same time, like, the significance of that jacket versus the significance of a brand is wildly different. So anyway, to answer your question though, is once a month enough? I would say, well, how important is this to you? Is one touch point enough? Like, you tell me. And I produce Chris Doe's podcast, and he's also my business coach. And I think that's just like, I cannot really even convey how much of a blessing that is, because he knows all our dirty, dark secrets, and we still work together. He hired us after he'd been coaching me through some of my most ridiculous like punts ever in terms of prospects and clients and stuff like that. But one thing he's taught me is just to ask more questions and ask more questions. Like, okay, like, what do you think? What do you think one episode a month will do for you? How much time will that save you? Okay, like, just ask questions. And he puts it this way, and he doesn't mean it maliciously. He's like, let them set their own trap. Like, they're going to arrive to the conclusion very quickly if what they're doing is worth their time or not, or worth the small or big investment or not. And that's just because you're asking questions and you're just literally peeling back things. And I think that is a huge service, because like I said, and I was not joking when I said it earlier, I'm like, I try and talk people out of podcasts all the time. And there have been at least 3 people in the last 3 months who've been like, I'm so glad we talked. Like, this is not what I need to be doing. Like, I'm not going to sell more books doing this. So I'm like, oh yeah. So, so is once a month enough? If we're talking data wise, no, man, it's the absolute bare minimum. I don't even know what the stat is, but I know the stat used to be something like, 350,000, maybe to 400,000 people are publishing once a month. Cool. Like, I'm not interested in being part of the bare minimum, like me.
Right.
How many people are publishing once a week? It was closer to like 150,000. So it's like, there's your competition. 150,000 people are publishing once a week. So for all the people who are saying like, oh, everyone's got a podcast, like, do they? Like, do they?
Right.
Like,
Yes.
like really, like
And in
how
that
many?
150,000, there's a niche, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that it's even segmented even more.
Yes, religion, sports,
Yep.
news, true crime, business, how to, like, give me a break. So yeah, I think in those situations you just ask the questions. And because we were talking about price, I just this is a little bit of an aside, but I really think it's important. There's been 2 times recently where price came up as an objection after I spent a long time talking to these people, after I verbally conveyed the price online or on a Zoom call, and then they asked for the proposal. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, we've already kind of covered everything, right? Like this
Right.
should be like whatever. And I got the emails back or whatever that were saying that's out of my budget. And one of them, she's like, and I think I made a story about it. She's like, that's 4x what people around town are quoting me. And this person has like hundreds of thousands of followers. And I'm like, as much as I would have loved that business, it was way more important for me to not say, well, we can do this. Like, I was just like, oh, no worries. I was like, that's what people pay us. Like we'll be a resource if you ever, find that you could use us in the future. So it's really important to have strategic patience and just let people fall all over themselves, because if you pay cheap, you pay 2 times, or however many times. Like, have fun. Like, I cannot worry about it, right? Like, it's and that's so hard for people in our situation and creatives to do. The second time happened just yesterday, and I was kind of heartbroken on this one, man, because like I really believe I could help this person and this client or this potential client, and I know we could really help what they're trying to accomplish in their business and everything. And in this case, I really actually wanted it. So I just was like, okay. And I was like, hey, no problem. And this is something they teach. They're like, you don't need more generalists in your organization. You need more specialists. The days of people it's not cool and it's not doing anyone any favors if, you or your director of operations or your marketing team could do all these things. So I literally just use that in my reply. Like, hey, no problem. I could see, good luck doing it in-house again. They didn't have success before. I knew that. But I was like, just make sure that they're specialists and not generalists, because I've seen too many people go down this road where all that effort, time, money, and effort was for nothing, because they didn't have people who actually had strategic and business approach to this. And I'm like, and then I gave 2 downsell options, which were literally podcast ads, an ad only package, which I could virtually guarantee downloads or views or whatever, because we have a really awesome partner, or that we just manage it, which would be a dream, dude, because like, I told you, I don't want to produce. I'd rather just like us publish things and get you reports and give you strategic insights and all that other stuff. It's very low lift for us. But anyway, when it comes to price, don't fight. Just don't fight, man. Like, just either have the strategic patience and just be like, I know this is not for me and that someone else is going to come along. Or if you really want and believe in that person, give them something that they can absolutely use, remind them of a pain point they had, but at the same time, like, make it something that's going to be not a really heavy lift for you guys. And I don't know why I felt compelled to share that, but it was just so fresh. And I'm just like, dude, like, people are just going to have price objections. It's like how you meet those is going to determine where your energy actually sits, in those conversations as time goes on.
Yeah. Like you said, it's sometimes hard for me to see people just look at the price tag versus, but what could this get you? Like, this feels like this medium specifically is one of the absolute best in terms of content creation, in terms of like you were saying, kind of refining your message and getting in front of people and all these different things. And so I think, again, that goes back to the strategy conversation. What is your customer worth and all those sorts of things? Because if you don't know those things, then it's going to seem expensive. But if your customer is, worth $100,000, then spending a few thousand a month to get that is like, not a problem. Like, so it just kind of depends.
One conversion in a year. I mean, I'm sure, for us, one conversion for someone whose LTV for a client is 100K or a business, like, yeah, that pays for itself for the year. Like, you're good. Like, can you hang on for a year? Like, can you trust that we're going to also refine along the way and see what's working, what's not, and whatever.
Right.
Like if you do that, you're right. It's a great medium. We just can't care more than they do. That's the bottom line, man. Like, we can't care more than they do.
That's huge.
Because then we just fall into the convincing, and it's like, no, man. Like, I'm trying to serve, not sell. So, I love that line. Is like, when people freak out, I'm like, oh, that's what people pay us. That's it. Yeah. That's what other people are paying. Like, you're not one of those people. Well, goodbye. Like, I get it. No problem.
Exactly. Yep.
No problem.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes if you try to fight that too much, you're fighting for somebody who's just not a good fit right now.
Yes.
Maybe they would be at some point, but you don't want to fight for somebody who's not going to be a good fit for you, and you're not going to be ultimately a good fit for them either. So,
totally.
And I love what you said. You want to serve, not sell. So I think that's huge. Now, okay, thinking about, because we run into this all the time where somebody's pretty convinced, okay, I think I want to do this podcast thing. I understand that it's going to take a while, that kind of a thing. But maybe I've done some like speeches here and there because I'm the CEO. I've spoken at this convention, this conference, blah, blah, blah. But like, I don't speak necessarily regularly, and sure as heck, I don't speak on camera all the time. So how do you help someone? What are some things that people could do to help figure out their brand voice? Like, how do you know what your voice is in all this, your tone?
Yeah. So I try and I backpedal a little bit, like using the word brand and all that stuff when it comes to this. I know what you mean, and I think people know what they mean, but I try and just kind of really reduce the fraction, so to speak, because brand can be like really cumbersome. So I try and think of like your podcast voice is what I say. And your podcast voice is this, you and I right now. Like, this is very easily in my mind can be the same type of conversation we would be having if we met up for lunch, if we lived in the same city. You know what I'm saying? And I was helping you or you were helping me. I think where people, especially founders, get into trouble, and actually one of my clients, I hope you don't see this, but he's a lead pastor at my church, and he is amazing on stage. You know what, though? After we did our 25 episode audit, we realized, like, it was a suspicion, but we now can see it very plainly. Like, he talks at the audience versus talking and engaging with the audience, right? Like, it's not like he's there with them. So I've been saying this for a few years now, and I know a lot of other people say it now, so I definitely didn't coin it, I guess, but podcasting is the most intimate form of marketing. Like, there should be a more kind of relaxed feel to it, a casual nature, less veneer, less polish, and just more authenticity, which is literally exactly why my company's called Unfilter. It's like, dude, just put all that stuff aside, just put it all aside, and like, let's just talk plainly, because I would love to hear not only what you have to present, but I would also love to hear all the problems that you've had with this specific thing as well. And I'll give you a perfect example. My one client was right here just the other day, and she was interviewing these two founders, and these founders have 5 ice cream shops here in Wilmington. Wilmington's a small city. Having 5 ice cream shops in a small city is kind of ridiculous. And they were asked to get onto UNCW, the college campus here, and all that other stuff. And I believe they were saying something along the lines of like, they're like, we need less Starbucks and more local businesses, So like, it's a huge to get that kind of call. Like, we want you on campus. And I'm like, wow. And they're talking about all these kind of cool things. And you know what they also talked about in that podcast? How one of them had a nervous breakdown, how one of them was in their hospital bed still checking on like ice cream machines or answering questions from some of the staff, how there was a flood the other day, how there was a fire at one of the shops, how one of the freezers broke, how they were getting a delivery for this huge new machine that was going to double their output, and they could not figure out a way to get it in the door without literally tearing down a wall of one of the spaces. Like, these are all the things. And that, to me, is so much more valuable than you just telling me what to do. You know, if you're going to be a business, or if you're going to just be someone, like you are a CEO who has insight that we will never get. And I think although you could give us lots of tips and tricks and mindset and strategy and like all these things, like, dude, tell me some of the fattest L's you've taken, because I would love to learn like how that even happened. Were you blindsided? What you could have done now that you've reflected on it to prevent it? What you have done since then to prevent it? Like, I always look at it like this, man. Like, I can make content if we were just talking money. I could make a ton of content like, here's how you make your first 10,000, or here's how you have your first $10,000 a month. Like, people will always eat that up. There is a general population who is interested in making money, and people would gravitate towards that content. And then there's another segment of the general population, so to speak, that is interested in you saving them money or from a big financial mistake. And I think the same thing goes for whatever your niche is, right? Okay, like whether it's realty, like, here's the 5 things that are going to fail your home inspection every single time. Like, that's valuable content. So anyway, so to your point, like, how do you get into a place where you find your brand voice? Your brand voice, in my opinion, should always lead with uncommon honesty. And I think that's the biggest separator in very successful podcasts right now versus the person who has someone research a bunch of stuff for them, tells them what to talk about, and the host can do this stuff with their eyes closed, and it's very low effort. If you are not extending yourself, and by extending yourself, I mean like literally digging deep to give like super valuable, like heartfelt information, then like this is just a facade in the end. Right. Like, and I think this is why Mel Robbins does super well. You know, generally, like, she's very relatable, but dude, I've listened to her podcast a bunch of times, and like, you just like feel her. And she always at the beginning says, "Hey friends, it's Mel." Not Mel Robbins, like, "Hey friends, it's Mel." And like, it's like, there's just like a tone to it. Do you know what I'm saying? So not to say that there's not a place for, you know, people who get straight to business and all that other stuff, but are you talking at the people, or are you with them? And I think that's a huge difference. And I think that's where your brand voice or your podcast voice should originate. It's like, how honest am I willing to be? You know, what are the conversations that I'm usually having? And how many times do I always say this? Like, there's got to be a different way. There's got to be a different anecdote. There's got to be a different lesson that I can share. And if you're willing to do that work, I think you're going to be good, man. Like, I just do. That's just how I feel.
Podcasting is uniquely the space to be way more real and authentic. That, like, you can talk at people. That can be a way you do things in other mediums. But what you're saying is, for podcasting, drop the act, be as real as possible. That's actually what you need to focus on. Am I hearing that right?
Of course. That's okay. Podcasting is the space to just be you. And I just don't think it's, I mean, have you ever, dude, let's like, just for a second, humor me.
Yeah.
Some of the most viral podcast clips are when people are really trying to present and they say something wildly stupid and it gets circulated around the internet. And there's this one guy, I think you know him, and he wears headphones and he's got a couple other producers with him, and like he acts like he's observing a podcast or he's producing one, and then they cut to the clip of someone saying something stupid and they're just like, what is happening right now? And he like takes his headphones off. He's like, I quit. Like you could go viral for that. But tell me the last time like you saw something that was like super authentic and real, and you could feel it, and you like rolled your eyes and were like, that was stupid. Like, you just don't, like, I'm telling you, man, like, people who are able to kind of codify a story or anecdote and tell it in a way that's engaging with a takeaway and all that stuff, like that uncommon honesty is, I think, the driver to truly building those kind of highly engaged listeners or super fans or whatever you want to call them. So sorry, yes, to answer your question, but obviously I feel super strongly about that.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually partly why I was always drawn to this, was because I started podcasting as a youth pastor. We made a podcast for parents. And so we would just like take the things that we taught on Sunday night and kind of try to just get parents up to speed with some things. It's like, we're with your kids. We're like in this culture, like, here's some things you should be aware of, like that kind of a thing. And we would just, and because the different youth pastors, we were all friends, it's a larger church. And so, you know, we just kind of had a great chemistry between each other, and it went pretty well.
Yeah.
And so another reason why I like this is because it just really gives, it helps people who maybe aren't great at talking on camera. It gives them a way to talk on camera.
Yes.
Because you can talk to another person.
Yes.
Right? Like, you can have like, I have coffee right here. Like, you can do that and just talk to another person. Yeah, try to be on topic and whatever. And like you said, there will be a refining of how you say things, especially as you kind of evaluate and iterate and all of that. But yeah, there's enough polish out there.
Yeah.
There's enough ChatGPT refined answers and trying to mimic humans stuttering and whatever out there. Like, there's enough of that. We need people. We need humans. We need real. What do you think? What have you experienced? That's what I need. That's what I want to hear. While there's not always like amazing standard ROI metrics, you did talk about measuring some things. So are there things that you all typically measure that you think, and I mean, you've been in podcasting for at least about 7 years or so. Is that right? Okay, so you've been in this even longer than like really video became popular. And so what are some of the things that people actually should pay attention to? And maybe even like, you see these metrics, what should you not get discouraged by?
I had a conversation this morning. I was telling you, with my operations director. Her name's Ellie. And we have a call with a client in about an hour or an hour and a half or something. And we had pivoted their strategy from consistency because they came in cold. These co-founders, they're actually where you are. And they came into content cold, meaning they had nothing anywhere ever, really. And we were doing all the things, man. Like, we were doing shorts, we were doing the podcast. I was flying out, we were setting up studios, we were helping them get guests, we were helping them get guested on, and all that kind of stuff. And we're talking about it. And the strategy now is client acquisition, like straight up, like, meaning because of their industry, like, there's a lot of layers to their industry. So they want to talk to CEOs and VPs in those industries who would be ideal clients for a service that they can provide. No problem. And when we pivoted to that, like, one of the hosts, because they were doing kind of individual podcasts, even though it was one podcast, individual interviews, I guess is a better way to put it. One of them was like, as soon as it was over, they're like, that was amazing. Like, let's have a call about how we could potentially work together. And he didn't pitch anything during the show or as a host or anything like that. He just created a very good experience. So, like, the reason I'm telling you that is because it's different for everybody. Like, my idea of success doesn't matter. Like, dude, I can tell you some of the most amazing reports that my team has generated for clients that have their Spotify metrics, that have our strategic recommendations, that have their Apple Podcast metrics, that talk about retention, that have their YouTube views, their CTR, average viewer duration. Like, dude, no one cares. Like, if they don't care about that, like, it's truly an afterthought. Now, we also have a corporate client, and they're very, very interested in downloads. I know the lever to pull for that. I do not think that it's going to bother them because of the type of corporation or business that they are. If their average viewer duration is 2 minutes out of 50, like, I don't think, like, they would love to showcase the views. They would love to, they know something we don't, and I don't try and challenge it. Yep. So I would say it's a moving target. And the most important thing, I think the best way to answer your question is, it doesn't matter what I think. If I'm providing a service to you as a business, it matters what you want to achieve. What does success look like for you in 6 months and 12 months? What would make you happy? What would make you be like, I'm absolutely going to continue with you guys. This is exactly what I wanted. Now, if it's something super wild and like ridiculous, like we'd love to have 100,000 subscribers, I'd be like, okay. I'd be like, how many subscribers do you have now? They're like 100. I'm like, okay. So, oh man, I just set myself a trap. I can't do the math, man. 100, like, you'd like to 100x that, whatever the number is.
Right.
Whatever the
shoot numbers.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, I hate public math. I freak. So let's just say, so I would say something like, okay, so you'd like to 100x your YouTube. Okay. Like, again, set it up for them. Like, you'd like to 100x. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I could do that for $50,000 a month. Something, right? Like, really put now again, like, if it's a kind of wild expectation, and they might not know it's wild, they might think it's possible because they're not in our industry, but someone might just want to appear on other podcasts because they have a book that is so important to them. That's what they want. So it's like, can I give them that? Okay, this person wants to have more speaking engagements. Can I give them that? This person wants a higher listener retention. Can we give them that? Like, now, don't get me wrong. Like, we can work on those things ourselves and make strategic recommendations. Like, I think your 3-minute intro could probably be 30 seconds because we're seeing a dip here. Or we don't need to tell them anything. We're like, hey, we're going to experiment with this for a couple months. You trust us, right? You're paying us. You trust us, right? So to answer your question, it's what they want. And I was watching this show, and I'm glad it's over. I was watching Black Rabbit, and it's like freaking super stressful to watch, and it's like really good acting, and it's dark and whatever. But for whatever reason, I got into it. And there was a scene, and it has really nothing to do with anything, but it just happened to be on this show, where this woman passes away and the cops are investigating her apartment. The landlord comes up and they're like, anything about her? He's like, no, she was really quiet. She was a good tenant. She paid her rent on time. Like, the landlord doesn't care if she keeps her apartment really clean and this or that or whatever. Like, for him, a good tenant equals someone who pays on time, right? Like, that's it. He didn't care if she took long showers or this or that or whatever, or if she was able to bring other people into the building or recommended the building, for other people if there was open spaces. Like it was so clear. And I was like, and I wrote it in my phone because I'm like, that's exactly it. Like, if Josh tells me the most important thing to him is building subscribers, then that is our goal. Period. Like, that's all we need to think about. And then anytime there is maybe a disappointment from an unspoken expectation, then that's when we fall back on that. Hey, so Josh, like, I know you're not thrilled about the downloads, but we're really just focused on the subs right now. Did something change? Right? Like, did something change? Because, like, we can't do all the things at once. Everyone would love this world where their subs go up, their views go up, their downloads go up, their listeners go up, their retention go. Like, dude, yeah, I get it.
Yep.
I would love to have a six pack right now, and I work out a lot, and it's not coming anytime soon. So, it's like realistic expectations. So you have to manage the expectations. You have to give them what they want. Now, if you're asking me personally, I really, really obviously am all about retention. I just want to see is this valuable? Like, is this truly valuable? Did this really need to go an hour? Where are people dropping off? Like, do I need a co-host? Do I need this segment where I feel like I'm talking about my personal life and I feel like it's valuable because it ties into the lesson, but maybe it's not actually that effective? Am I taking polls to see if people are actually listening? Does a download actually mean anything to me if people are staying for a minute out of 40? Like, that stuff matters to me a lot because, again, that all goes back to messaging, how you show up, how you're telling stories, how you're formatting the episode, and all that other stuff. So that's me personally. But from a vendor or a strategic partner lens, it's whatever you want. It's right. Whatever you tell me. I'm like pinning that. And that is what we're going to focus on. And then when we get that in motion, or we have like maybe the 80% solution and we could see that momentum could be sustained in that specific area, like those clients in Cincinnati, we're moving from consistency to client acquisition. Let's not talk about anything else. And that's what we do. Yep.
I love that. Yeah. It's interesting because we've shifted in talking about, we've actually removed some of the pricing from our website and different things just because most people, when they come to us, they don't exactly know how to achieve the end. And so a lot of times, like you said, they may know what they're wanting to do. They just don't know how to get there. And so we need to figure out, okay, what exactly is your goal? Then we can customize a package based off of that.
Yeah.
But we were starting to realize like, oh, people have this expectation. They think, oh, I'll just do the once every other month deal and that'll work. And it's like, that almost never works.
Yeah.
That's really helpful, man. I feel like I could literally talk to you for forever. You're like, you're super knowledgeable, you're super real, but like you've been doing this for a while. And so like, I don't know, I'm just really loving the answers.
I'm also caffeinated, man. Like, awesome. Dude, I'm like, I want to show up for you, man. Like, I love your content. Great. I love what you guys are doing. I was telling my new hire, I'm like, dude, these guys are awesome. Like, I like their content. I like how specific they are. And I like how they just don't deviate from the niche. And I'm just like, dude, I just want to show up, man. So I appreciate that. But like, this isn't just a non-established podcast that I'm just doing to get content. Like, this is right. The stuff we do every day, it's so important to convey the things that we know. Like, so yes, I might as well be a practitioner of some of the things that I'm saying.
Right. No, I love it. Okay. I think I'll just ask these last two questions. So as someone who you've coached a lot of people, like a lot of clients through things, what are some of the common themes that come up in how people, and maybe let's tailor it specifically to the content itself, whether it's like what they're talking about, how they're talking about it, how they're showing up on camera, those sorts of things. What are some of the common themes that you typically need to coach people on?
Some of the common things I need to coach people on usually revolve around an idea of a podcast that they want to resemble. And
okay,
you know what I'm saying? Like, I know how that is. I know what's appealing. And I'm a very, very big proponent of like, create what you consume. I'm a proponent of it. I don't execute that well because I don't have the patience. Like, some of my favorite creators on Instagram, man, like, dude, it's all like really amazing jump cuts and story. It's like, it's visual storytelling and cinematic. Right. And I'm like, dude, I don't have the time for that. I would love to do that, but I don't have the time for that. But when it comes to podcasting, some of the people we coach, I think they have an idea of some of these remarkable podcasts that are out there. And Diary of a CEO comes up all the time, of course. And I'm like, I don't think that podcast and that effort like get the amount of respect they deserve in terms of just like what is actually happening. Like, I get the content is good, man. I promise.
Yep.
But the team is massive, and you could just tell they are relentless about thumbnails, about ads, about title testing, about subject matter, about research, about guests who are a good fit, about opportunities, speaking opportunities, like all the things about, creating an amazing guest experience. Like, dude, like, come on. So I would say the desire to resemble something or a podcast that not only has resources that absolutely overshadow yours by like just a metric F ton, but more importantly, they've probably been at it for quite some time. Right. And I think I truly believe, Josh, that like the majority of coaching, some of the tactical stuff, like I help a lot with that. And you could also watch videos on it and whatever. I truly think it's managing expectations. Like, that's really what it comes down to. Yeah. And so I would say it's that. But the very first thing is resembling another podcast. And then I would say the second is just true clarity on having something that they can do long term. Just how sick of this are you going to get when you maybe have had zero feedback from a listener in 6 months? Yeah. Like, Gary V started with Wine Library and was like doing random stuff and just being absolutely crazy. And he has an intrinsic motivation and a no finish line mentality, which is why he is what he is now. And this is the same as me freaking deciding to join CrossFit tomorrow. Like, is that what I want to do forever? Or do I love my sanctuary in my garage that I cannot walk past, without actually reminding myself that this is something that is a lifestyle and this is how I want it. And I love community and working out with other people, but not that much. Right. So I know for me, that's what I can do long term. Right. Can you do this long term is what a lot of the coaching happens, is a lot of what the coaching is about. So those are a couple. And I would say maybe the last thing is just truly kind of reducing the overwhelm that we talked about earlier, whether it's some of the tech or like how you come across on camera and all this other stuff. I think podcasting is very unique in that I could actually just make you a better communicator generally than you are now. Short form doesn't do that. Long form does. So if you want your ums and ahs removed, I always like to say we can, or you could just be a better host. Or you meaning, and I don't mean that, I don't mean that maliciously. I just mean like, dude, go from talking at 1.1 to 0.75. Can you be articulate and give Josh an answer that he can actually use and feel and clip if he wants, and like all that stuff? So, a lot of the coaching just becomes around some of those things that people aren't used to, but I do believe it'll make you a better communicator. But coaching is usually there to help reduce overwhelm. I would say accountability. I don't, maybe that works in fitness and other things and business coaches, but I think like a podcast coach, I have not had the experience where like I'm able to be a resource of accountability, because if you don't want to record, you're not going to record. If you're too busy to record, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like that just doesn't happen. And I'm realistic about that. So if I were to go back, coaching clients, and from what I've seen, the three biggest things are, one is going to be, trying to have them have an appreciation of the depth and the effort and the resources that some of the big podcasts that they aspire to be, have a better respect for that, so they could have better expectations, which the second one is obviously expectations, like we said. And then the third is just managing the content chaos that this can be, and I don't mean the output. I just mean like everything that's supposed to go into it from beginning to end.
Love it. All right. Last question. is there anything that we haven't talked about that you're just like, you think would be really, really important for, B2B CEOs, marketers, thought leaders? Is there anything else that you're like, I have this burning thing in me that we need to talk about?
Yeah. And I think the thing I believe that thought leaders and CEOs and aspiring podcasters are overlooking is just the art of being an exceptional host. And I think that if especially if this is going to have any kind of monetization or business outcome associated with it, the effort you put in is the revenue you're going to receive, I guess, is the easiest way to put it. If you look at that, oh, I got a podcast at 11. If you're that, and you show up with the intent of asking this person some simple questions, no killer questions, no research, just like overemphasizing the spirit of having a casual conversation, then you're toast for sure. Yeah. And there's a gentleman, and I'll have to talk to you about this offline, about a podcast that I've been sitting on. And just like anyone else, I'm nervous to make this podcast. But it's been on my heart for so long. But there's this gentleman, his name is Kevin McCarthy. And yeah, dude, like, he interviews all these A-list celebrities and he does all these things. And dude, every time I see him on Instagram, it's Brad Pitt or Morgan Freeman or Ryan Reynolds or Hugh Jackman or whoever saying like, that was an amazing question. I see them like just refreshed by not having to answer the same question they've been asked a million times. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there is something that just like brings them out of this robotic space of, I'm just going to say what I said last time and I got to say it 10 more times on this interview circuit that I'm doing today. No, man, like, do the work. Like, do that work, be an exceptional host, be an exceptional listener. But like, if you hear the magic words, which to me, the magic words are always like, nobody's ever asked me that before, or, you know what I'm saying? Something like that, or that's a really good question. And you could tell that they actually mean it. They're not just stalling to come up with something. That is what I believe is probably the biggest differentiator. And again, like, to be interesting, I don't know where I heard it, but I'm sure it's gone around. But to be interesting, you have to be interested. And I can tell you, as a young podcaster, meaning like when I first started podcasting years ago, it was super exciting to be in some of the rooms, like, interviewing in person guys like Patrick Bet-David and Gary V and Andy Frisella and some of these huge names. Like, it was so exciting. And I squandered some of those opportunities in some ways because I was so excited that I talked more than I should have, and, just in moments. But definitely during those interviews, though, I had probably 50 questions. And as well as I do, that you're only going to get the opportunity to probably ask 5 of those. And if you're a really, really good podcaster, that's probably all you need, because they're going to give you answers that you're going to be able to go deeper on, which is what they want. Bring them to that place where we talk about where they can be unfiltered, where they take off the polish, where they take off the veneer, where it's not an act, where they're not posturing, where they're not just giving you what you want to hear. They're giving you something that is like deeply embedded in them that they've been wanting to talk about. The art of exceptional interviewing, I believe, is going to be the differentiator for people in the future and podcasters in the future. So if you're gonna kind of skimp on that and go cheap on that, then I'm sure the results will follow. But that is a goal of mine, is just to be an exceptional interviewer. And I know how time consuming it is. I know how hard it is, but I also know that is when I was the happiest. And I had the energy exchange with some of these people that I know I left a memorable experience. And as long as I could walk away knowing that, then I was good, like, that's it, period, point blank. So if that's what I would say is like the only thing kind of burning inside right now that I feel like is important to kind of mention.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I was interviewing somebody, and I had seen them on a previous podcast. They posted that this was the best podcast I had ever been on. The questions this host asked was amazing. And so literally as I was prepping, I was like, I need to make it my goal.
Yeah.
So I usually like trying to set these super lofty goals, whether or not I hit them. If I don't shoot high, I'm never going to go remotely close to it. And so I was like, I want to make my podcast interview better than that one.
100%.
There's no way it would have happened, but I tried, right? And I got a couple of those. That's a good question. And I was like, inside, I was like, yes, I'm doing the thing. So anyways, but I think you're right, because those are the podcast episodes, and Stephen Bartlett does this too, right?
Yeah.
I love it when I'm starting to listen to the episode he just released with Jurgen Klopp. I'm a huge Liverpool fan, so I'm super excited about this, and I'm waiting for those points where he's just gonna ask that question that like everything drops, the guards drop, and it's like, yes,
Yeah.
I like this. This is where we're gonna go, because we crave human connection. We love. There's so much fake out there. And so it's like, if you can just connect with somebody and see the actual excitement, the actual angst, the actual, whatever the emotions are, man, it's just going to be so much better. And it's like that's also in movies, when somebody can portray real emotions like that, that's when we're hooked. That's when we actually start to even care about characters. Like, we've watched a couple movies recently where I'm like, I just turn to my wife, I'm like, I did not care about anybody in this movie. Like, this was a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
They did not do any sort of, it's character development, right? And that's what we're craving. And I think that you're right. That's what a good host brings out.
Yeah.
And the more you can do that, I mean, production quality is great.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
There's all these different things that are really important, but that's the thing AI can't do.
Yeah. And just, dude,
I love it.
And one last point on that is, like, if for no other reason, it's because they're donating their time. Like,
yes.
Like, dude, like, don't treat it like nothing. Like, everyone's busy. And oh man, some of these people, and I'm sure you've been canceled on like a day of or a couple of days before, and you may be looking forward to it or whatever. And if you haven't, then you know it's going to happen. But it's happened to me a million times. Gary V, dude, that was a moving target for a minute. But once I got that 15 minutes, it was amazing. And I've been able to do that multiple times. But I'm like, dude, just stick with it. Who cares? But like, if he's going to donate his time, someone like that, anyone, I guess I shouldn't just highlight someone like him, but like, if they're donating their time, sometimes they're going to look at their calendar and be like, I don't need to do this. Like, this is just whatever, you know what? Never mind. Or so when they go through with it, I try and almost go into podcasts like that pessimistically, like, this person doesn't want to be here. I'm going to make them not regret this. They're donating their time. So at a minimum, if for no other reason, that's a reason to just bring it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, like, let's actually bless the person who's in front of us. Like, let's try to show them honor, because like time is literally the most valuable thing, and if they're giving that to you, like, it's huge. So dude, Rich, speaking of time, we're a little over our time. So you're awesome. Thank you so much. And if people want to, I think people should follow you. So how can people follow you on social media and stuff? Yeah,
I would say right now, primarily at Podcast Rich on Instagram is where I'm focusing my growth. So at the time of this episode, that's what I'll say. If we ever re-engage in person, which I hope we do, then it'll probably be YouTube then, because I'll definitely be putting a lot of things in place there. But Podcast Rich, please, like, if there's anything I could do or anyone I could refer you to, or a voice note, which Josh has been a huge resource for me. So I feel really blessed about that. Like, I'm literally I have an ATEM because of you, and my editor is like thinks I'm Jesus now, you know, like, dude, like I like no more 4K uploads of 3 different SD cards. Like, it's just like bang, bang, bang. Here you go. Like, it's already a clean cut. But anyway, Josh and I connected in that manner, and I'd love to connect with you in that manner. If there's any way I could be a resource, that's what it'll be. So whether it's through the content or through a question, through a DM or anything like that, at Podcast Rich is definitely where I'd like to meet you. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of Grow Your Podcast. If you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. And if you're in the greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area, and you're a CEO, you're a marketer, you're a thought leader, keynote speaker, someone who is trying to invest into their personal or business brand, I would love to talk with you. We think video podcasting is one of the absolute best ways of growing your brand over time, because we think that when people see your face and hear how you think, you will attract the right kind of client. So if you want to learn more about how video podcasting can do that, let's set up a discovery call. Just go to cincinnatipodcaststudio.com/discovery or click the link in the description. And I want to thank you so much for your time, attention, and trust, and we'll see you next time.